Hello everyone, Joey Sparks here. God's mercies are new again this morning.
This morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. I woke up this morning with my mind.
Imagine you're an alien, you've got this assignment to try to track human life on Earth, and one of the words you keep hearing and that you write down in your notebook is the word love. How do you understand what love is? Do you really know what true love is? If you track all the times and all the ways modern culture uses that word, would you discover what true love is? What do you think? You may have some people who use it to describe some insignificant things like food or favorite sodas, soft drinks, favorite car brands or shoe brands. I just love this or that. Or I love a good sunset. Talk about experiences with the word love as well. But then you do hear some pretty powerful moments with the word love, right? A couple is married for a long time and they talk about the importance of love holding them together. Talk about a father and a child, or a mother and a child in love holding them together. You see some people that have been in each other's company for a few minutes, and they're reconnecting and they're saying goodbye, and they close with saying, "I love you, man." Okay, that's good, that's noble. But you also notice, there's some times when it's used in far different circumstances, where the sex act outside of marriage is used by the word love. You just make love. That's all that is. And then you've got other things, homosexual behavior and related kind of behaviors and trends that are just described by the phrase love wins, or you love who you love. So what do we do with that word love when we understand that if you tried to literally define it based on its usage, it's clear we're a very confused culture. Now, what's interesting about that is you take the preeminent word for love in the New Testament, the word agape. To our knowledge, it was not heavily used or highly used in this emphatic fashion prior to the New Testament. And yet now we know that it is the supreme quality, this type of love, because of how it describes God's love for us, especially through Jesus. So it's of course the word that's used in John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Well, John's a fan of that word. That's in John's account of Jesus saying that. And then you get to John's letters, and love is a key theme in those letters. It's in 1 John that he talks a lot about God being love in chapters 3 and 4 of that book. Listen for a moment from John 4, verses 7 and 8. Beloved, let us love one another. Okay, that's a good thing. We need to love one another, but what do we do with love? What is love? Well, we need to know this. Love is from God. Whoever loves, action, has been born of God and knows God. And anyone who does not love does not know God, because, catch it, God is love. So there's this high standard. We must know that God gives us love. Love is from him. But then he one-ups that and says God is love. So in a very real way, when we're trying to determine and assess, hey, is what I'm doing loving? Is what I'm living out love? We must compare it to the source of love itself, and that is God himself. Is what we're doing something that's sanctioned and comes from God, or is it not? And then you'll notice how important this gets when you drop down to verse 12 of chapter 4. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God abides in us, and his love is perfected in us. See, do you hear that? No one's ever seen God. But the closest we can get is when we see his love lived out in our own lives. Think about that for a minute. No one has ever seen God, but we can come close when we see his love lived out in our own lives. So there's a high standard. A lot's at stake. And God does not apologize for commanding us to love, for giving us this example of what love is, for compelling us to love, and yet also showing us that it is the hardest thing we will ever do. It's the hardest thing we will ever do. And yet we're expected to do it. comes from God. He makes it known. He is love. So we keep going back to Him to find those qualities of love, the expectations of love. And we keep loving Him and loving one another. We thank you for your time this morning. It's our prayer that God's timeless word will be on your mind all day today.
I woke up this morning